Good evening, everybody. Excited to start our first Facebook Live of 2021. We're just going to wait a few seconds for those who are being notified to join us, and we will get started shortly. Hope everybody is doing fantastic, and I think you will have a very interesting program for you today, and I look forward to sharing that with you all. All right, I'm Naif Mubarak with Mubarak Law. We are coming on our first Facebook Live of 2021. It's the first Thursday. We took a few weeks off for the holidays to get re-energized and are ready to provide you with helpful, informative content and to represent our clients. You all have seen us talk about investor visas in the past, and today we're going to talk about one of the most important and critical elements of most applicants' investor visas. And I have a very special guest that I'm going to introduce to you all shortly. Some good news. Okay, we received an approval on an EB2 NIW just yesterday, national interest waiver for a young digital artist who had recently graduated, but was nominated for certain student Oscar awards, had worked for NBC. And typically, when somebody is a recent graduate, we are having a difficult to show that they have exceptional ability in their field. But so we're very happy for this individual, and we know he's going to contribute wonderful things to the arts of the United States. We do have a comment, Mr. Tariq. Glad you're back. It's good to be back. I'm happy to be here, and we have some good news for you as well. So USCIS is still accepting new DACA applications, advanced parole documents, and on that same topic, if you watch the news, you would see that the Democrats have won the Senate control through the Georgia elections. With the Democrats in control of the House and the Senate, it is more than likely we are hopefully to see some positive immigration reform for our dreamers at minimum and for the DACA. So we will promise to keep you all updated on any changes and the President-elect Biden's 100-day plan to see exactly what's going to change with the new administration, the new Senate, and the new House of Representatives. Other things to also be on the lookout for is the rescission of the travel ban for these Muslim countries, the Muslim ban. We're hoping to have applicants from Syria and citizens be reunited from their family members who have been subject to this travel ban. That's something we're also going to look forward to seeing in the change in the coming days. Finally, a few weeks ago, we sent out an email blast to all of you all about the delays in USCIS for their receipts. Right now, it is taking anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks to receive your receipts for your applications. So if you would like to continue to receive these updates, please subscribe to our newsletter or our YouTube channel or any of our social media. So if you want to possibly share this information with anybody who's watching as well, please feel free to send them the link of this live or send their email to us and we will add them to our newsletter link. All right, that is our good news, our updates for you all. Tonight's guest is a very informative and esteemed colleague of mine. We have worked together on numerous cases successfully, doing investor visas from all over the world, from Colombia, from Dubai, from Tunisia, and from Italy and Venezuela. So it is my great honor to welcome my friend and colleague, Marco Scanu, and I'm going to introduce some background to him. Marco himself is an immigrant to the United States. He first came on the O1 for extraordinary ability. He is the CEO and founder of Visa Business Plans, which was established about 11 years ago. Welcome, Marco.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here today.
So, Marco, you've gone through the immigration process yourself, and for many people, this is maybe a traumatic process, going through some immigration process, and you are now decided that you're going to work with immigration continuously every day. How did you get into business plans? And if the same token, tell me, What exactly, in summary, is the business plan when it comes to immigration? Many of our viewers would not understand why a business plan is necessary. Perhaps you can shed some light on that.
Sure. So let me begin with the first question. So how I got into the business plan or immigration business plan arena, it was pure coincidence. My background is in the food service and hospitality business. Okay, I wasn't looking to business plans or anything like that, but in the process of putting together my O1 visa petition back in 2009, the immigration attorney who handled my case said, "Look, I don't usually include a business plan in O1 petitions, but look, the sponsor of your O1 is a startup, and I feel that the case could be a stronger with a business plan." So but she said, "Look, I know that you have experience with business plans. You're an entrepreneur, so you could, in theory, put together the business plan. But this is a very specialized area. So to make a long story short, we ended up hiring a company that didn't do a good job. The attorney wasn't happy. She said, "Look, we need to get a new business plan, or I think that perhaps we can, fix this." Or so. As an entrepreneur, I've always been very curious, and I always ask a lot of questions. So I asked her, "Hey, tell me more about this. Is there a need for this type of service?" So I saw an opportunity. So that was almost 12 years ago, and that's how I got into the immigration business plan business.
So if you're just joining us, I'm with Marco Scanu, whose company is based in Miami, Florida, but he does travel the world for conferences. He was even a consular officer for the Italian government in Venezuela. So he's Italian and Venezuelan. He came to the US on the O1. So he has a very full picture as to how government agencies work, and also going through the process, just like many of you or our clients have. So you might be wondering, as I mentioned, why are business plans required? Is my investment enough? But the business plan is like a guide for the officer who is going to review your case to see, have you met all of the requirements? Is this a real investment? And with Marco's companies, I can say that they do like market studies. They compare the industry. You can see the work that is put into these types of cases. Marco, what would you say is one of the top mistakes that people make when they are either your customer or when they are trying to pursue a business plan?
Okay, when it comes to an immigration business plan, two things are key. Number one, listen to your attorney. Okay, but number two,
Number one.
here's the thing: it's all about the audience. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is, clients that say, "Look, I know how to do the business plan. My business plan is ready. I have all these wonderful 5-year financial projections," and I say, "Perfect. That is totally useless for an immigration officer." How come? So look, it's all about understanding that your audience may not be business savvy. Their background might not be in business. They're trying to do their job, which is not only to understand your business, but to make sure that you meet the requirements of the visa category that NIAF is putting the whole visa petition for. So it's all about understanding the audience, how they make the decisions, the framework within which they review and decide on the visa petition. And when it comes to the business, keep it simple. I always say, if my 12-year-old daughter cannot understand my client's business plans, we're in trouble.
Right.
It has to be simple to understand, but at the same time, it has to be strong in, again, the areas where the consular or immigration officer will be paying attention to.
And to be clear, if you all are wondering, like, who is our audience, what do we mean by that? We are talking about the actual officer in USCIS reviewing a change of status application, or the individual at the consulate abroad reviewing the case. That is our audience. Yes, as our client, and if you're an entrepreneur, you definitely probably know more about restaurants than me. However, I know what immigration is looking for. I know what the requirements are. So we want to make sure that your, original idea or your business model is understandable for this individual. Does it meet their checklist? And that's kind of what we're focusing on here. And a lot of times people don't realize that. And I have a saying, what's good for business is bad for immigration, and what's bad for immigration is good for business, right? People are always trying to cut corners, save some money, which is natural as a business owner, but we need to meet certain requirements, minimum requirements, to make sure that it's happening. And one of these things is the business plan. For a lot of people, Marco, they are investing their money, selling some assets, for a reason to come here, and money is tight. Can you maybe give the number one of the top reasons, as besides catering to an audience, as to why it should have why an individual should have a business plan, and also what kind of costs are people looking at? I mean, is it based case by case? Is it are there options as far as a more complex to a less complex? Because a lot of times, by the time they get here or are planning to come here, they wonder, is the business plan necessary expense?
Great question. So what I tell clients is this: look, you're investing, let's say, $100,000. You're planning to move with your family. You're starting a new life. Look, are you going to risk this whole plan, a new life and future, because you want to save in a business plan? It's like paying for insurance. You're maximizing your chances of success, because again, business plan will be put together by a company that understands the audience, again, immigration officer or consular officer or border protection officer in Canada, and that understand what they're looking for. So it's paying for peace of mind. Right. And talking about costs, we offer a flat fee, and before we provide the fee for the business plan, we need to ask a few questions. It depends on the visa category. As you know, L petitions are more complex, and the requirements call for a certain level of detail in certain sections of the business plan, whereas maybe an E2 business plan can be a little bit shorter. So, fees range from anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500, but again, it depends on the complexity of the case, on how soon the client needs it. I need it by the end of yesterday. Okay, we can do that, but it's going to cost you more.
Which also, when you look at the big picture, the $1,500, the $2,500, peace of mind, and to know that you at least have another person with experience looking at it. Do you typically collaborate with the immigration attorney? And those who are just joining us, again, I'm with Marco Scanu. I've worked with him on visa business plans. We're doing L1s, E2s, EB2 NIW. This is employment-based national interest waiver. These are lots of visas that sometimes require a business plan. So if you have any questions, please feel free, write it in the comments, ask us questions. And if we can't get to it today, we will try to post the answer later. But I'm sure Marco is happy to take these questions. So Marco, what do you think is, I had my question, but now I've forgotten it, but what do you think is critical of like a business plan that's required? Is it in the statutes that say you must have a business plan, or is it something that is supplemental evidence? You're not a lawyer, but what is your opinion on that?
Okay. By the way, your question was do we collaborate with the attorney? And,
yeah, collaborate with the attorney. So yeah, thank you for that. That's the question I wanted to ask first. So okay. How do you work with somebody's representation to make sure you guys are on the same page?
Look, as I always tell my clients, look, the immigration attorney is the orchestra director. He's the leader of this project. Even though we bring a lot of experience to the table, having done more than 6,000 immigration business plans, we've learned a couple of things in the process. We're not attorneys, so we're familiar with the regulations, but especially adjudication standards, or how officers will make certain decisions. But the attorney is critical. We always say, look, we need to understand, especially for certain types of cases, for example, an L petition and NIW, we really need to understand the legal strategy because our business plan is a very important piece of a much bigger puzzle. But we need to make sure that it fits with and is consistent with the rest of the petition and again, the legal strategy. So it's extremely important that we constantly collaborate and communicate with the immigration attorney handling the case. In fact, we don't like to work on business plans for people who don't have an immigration attorney. They're running huge.
There are people who pursue E's or L's sometimes even on their own NIWs. And do you typically tell them that we recommend you get an attorney? What do you do
Yes.
across with somebody who's pro se?
Yes, people either say, I'm not hiring an attorney, they charge an arm and a leg, all they do is fill forms, or I'm using a notario, right? Or paralegal, and say, look, and I ask them, look, if you needed to extract a tooth, would you go with a dentist or with the dental assistant? Oh, no way I would do that with a dental assistant. Well, same thing. So you need an attorney, you need the professional. I mean, you're going through you have one shot here. So it is key that you work with a qualified immigration attorney that know what he or she is doing.
So this is going to be a follow-up to that and a little bit of a surprise. What do you tell people to look for in their immigration attorneys? You're not going to hurt my feelings. Or what are some pros or cons that you see that people sometimes is not, a red flag for an immigration attorney for somebody, or something that you appreciate with representation for as an outsider who works with immigration attorneys on critical pieces of evidence? What feedback can you give to anybody watching or shopping for an immigration attorney, what to look for?
Well, I'll share with you the 3 things that I share with my clients. So look, they ask me, look, I'm looking for the best attorney. And, my background is in the restaurant business. And I said, look, it's like when you ask someone, what is the best wine? The best wine is the one that you like. So that connection, that chemistry, because this is not like you're buying sugar at the supermarket. This is a very important decision for you. So you have to feel, it's your gut feeling that there is chemistry, and that's something that only you can feel. That's number 1. Number 2, depending on the visa category, you should ask what type of experience do you have in that specific category, and I believe also that's with certain U.S. consulates when we're dealing with E visas, you have experience with that specific U.S. consulate, because as you know, the way that London reviews an E2 visa is different from the way that Rome or Madrid would review an E2 petition. And third, I think that it's important because it's the approach that I believe in and the way that I like to be treated, and a professional that takes the time to explain the context of things and the why things should be done a certain way. I think that that's important. Last but not least, an attorney who listens, because Nayef, that at the end of the day, we become psychologists, firefighters. I mean, it's all about listening to, and again, I went through the process twice, the anxiety and uncertainty. I mean, all you need beyond the professional advice is someone that you feel is showing some type of empathy and is listening to you.
Yeah, I think the comments you've made are so important. And sometimes I tell clients in consultations, have more than one, some people will say to me, why are you telling them to get another opinion? I said, because we're going to enter into a relationship minimum for a year, and we should be comfortable with one another, and you should be comfortable with the attorney that's going to represent you. And you should have an attorney who's going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly of a case. right? And I always,
Exactly.
this is our weakness in this case, but this is our the strength side. So we want to try to improve it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I would like it if you could change your business model to include this. So it's really important that individuals work closely with their immigration attorney. And you said we become counselors. We know what the process is like. We know that you're trying to uproot your entire family and what the stakes are when you're doing this type of process. Marco, on E2 visas, do you see a particular type of business or industry that tends to go smoother over other types of industries? For anybody who's like open to the idea, they don't care what business they want to get into, they want to be sure it's a strong bet for the E2. What do you have any recommendations, or just you said 6,000 business plans in the last 11 years? Did you see a correlation as to what is a stronger chance?
That's a great question. I would say, look, I tell my clients, look, I'm not an attorney, but I will explain in my own words what the E2 visa is. The E2 visa is bring me your money, okay? Invest, show that you're committed to this and create jobs. That's it. I'm simplifying things, and I'm sure that more than one attorney will want to kill me now, but that's that's basically how we like to view it. Of course, there are other economic benefits for the U.S. and so on, but within this context, any business that will quickly show job creation is ideal. Restaurant, for example, something that you cannot outsource overseas, right? Restaurant, retail, those are the ideal.
And franchises, right? Like franchise.
I was going to say that. It wasn't my next thing. Franchises, but for an additional reason, if I'm an officer, and this is something that consular officers have told me, because I am constantly asking them, the underlying question that they ask is, will this business succeed, right? So when you're looking at a franchise, or let me put it this way, at a good franchise, you're looking from an audience perspective at a business that has proven to be successful. So that kind of gives confidence tends to provide confidence to a consular officer or immigration officer, other things being equal. But yes, the franchise, I think it's always a great option, or buying an existing business that has good numbers, good bones, of course, is also a good option.
So I do have a question. Mr. Sama has asked us, can we know the time frame? And this is actually one of my questions. So Sama, great question. What does a time frame typically look like? And then I have a follow-up on your questionnaires. Okay, so don't let me forget about that. So what is the time frame on a business plan, let's say an E2, typically for your office?
Look, it's a couple of weeks or about 10 business days from the moment we get all the information that we need. However, when we are contacted by a client, or we receive an introduction from you, Nayef, as you know, my first question is, do you have a deadline? Because if you have a deadline for whatever reason, we want to be mindful of that. And we've actually done business plans in 24 hours. There is a cost associated with the rush service, but it can be done. But we're always going to know from day one if there's a deadline, because if there's a deadline, we want to provide peace of mind.
Right. So you cannot, from my understanding, you cannot create a business plan if you don't have all the information from the client as far as the questionnaire. I have heard maybe some grunts and stuff from my clients that your questionnaires are long. Why are they asking me so many questions? Why is this? What's going on? And we have the same issue with immigration forms and history. Why is it important for people to at least fill the questionnaire as much as possible, right? And as quickly as possible, so we can have this turnaround of time. So tell me about the questionnaires and why so much information is necessary.
That's a great question because, and yes, we have clients who call and complain and say, look, I've been an entrepreneur and business owner for years. The way that I like to run and scale my business might not be the way that you investor like to grow your business. You might be very aggressive when it comes to growth. You might be very conservative. I don't know what your vision is for business. Let me give you an example. A client that says, okay, I'm going to open a restaurant. Okay, we're going to be doing a 5-year business plan. I don't know if you intend to open branches or not. Do you
Right.
intend to franchise? To what extent? So we need at least some guidance and vision. And what I tell clients is, look, just share with us your vision for the business. Forget that it's for a visa. That's what we come in to identify any potential risk from an business immigration perspective, but of course from the business plan point of view. But we need guidance because we cannot make decisions on behalf of our customers. Number two, I tell them, look, I'm not going for the interview. You're going for the interview. So, well, what are you going to tell them? Hey, call Marco's office, and if you have any
You
questions,
need to know
answer.
your business. You need to know your vision. And sometimes I think the biggest thing is people are intimidated. But, when you do the questionnaires, especially for the business plan, now is time to explain your vision, and I tell my clients too, like, don't just think of this business plan as something for immigration. This can actually help guide you as a tool. You guys do market studies for competitors in this industry, and should be a genuine tool for people to maintain their business. Because
Exactly.
if you come here on an E2, guess what? You're going to have to renew at some point in time. And to renew, we need to maintain this business. So you want to keep the business healthy. You don't want to liquidate it as soon as you get here to save money, because we're going to have a problem in a year and a half. Marco, we're almost running out of time, but I have more questions if you want to stick around, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Okay, so Sam has a follow-up question. He is asking, is there a prices for the businesses we will invest in? So I think I can, so for the E2, there is not a requisite number. It's not like the EB5 where it's black and white, where it says 900,000 or 1.8 million as required by law. It's more formulaic approach. The investment must be substantial, must not be marginal. And we look at, is it sufficient enough to support you and your family? So we don't have an exact number. It also depends on the type of business. If you tell me you want to invest 100,000, that sounds like a great number to start. But if you tell me it's to open a Marriott hotel, it's not going to work. It's not sufficient to launch the business enterprise. So there isn't an exact number, but the E2 not having an exact number makes it very affordable for many people. We've done them, I don't recommend this. We've done them for as low as 35, 40,000 and have been successful. But really, is this business going to be something that can support you and your family at $35,000 or $40,000? Is it going to have a long-lasting effect where you will be able to renew and maintain the business? Now, besides opening a business and investing, there's something called an employment-based, that's EB2, national interest waiver, where we ask the U.S. government to waive the labor certification and the job offer because a person of exceptional ability in their field. Why would somebody who's not opening a business, who's exceptional in their field, why would they need a business plan?
Well, again, going back to the audience, you want an immigration officer to understand, okay, the following. So you're bringing a great background. I mean, you have stellar resume, but so what? What are you going to do here in the States? And how is it that you're going to be, what is the benefit for the US? So they need to understand, with your background, what exactly you're planning to do in the US, step by step. Let me give you an example. Are you going to be a consultant? Are you going to be opening a business? Are you going to be working as an independent contractor? And what exactly are you going to be doing? And tell me that thing that you're going to be doing, why is it important for the US? That's why it's called national interest waiver. What is the national interest of whatever you're going to be doing here? And again, it has to be written in a way that my 12-year-old daughter can understand. It has to be simple and then easy to understand.
We want to just share with everybody how to contact Marco. Info at Visa Business Plans is here. Their phone number is here, but just Google Visa Business Plans Miami, and I'm sure they will come up. We do have another two questions. Here is Safa asking us, hey Safa, I'm glad you're watching. How many employees does an E2 investor should consider? So from my personal experience, I like to see minimum 2 or 3, excluding the investor themselves, who will count. And again, there's not a requirement that says we must have 10. Please do not confuse the EB5 with the E2. We must show that you're coming here to direct and manage this business enterprise. So Marco, do you have a thought on this, or from your experience of 6,000 business plans?
Well, more than a number is a concept. Stay away from portraying you, the investor, as a one-man band.
Right.
We need through the business plan to show that you're going to be, and I tell my clients this always, you're going to be the orchestra director. We need to show that you're going to be hiring the musicians. In theory, you should know, you might be able to play some of the instruments. But we need to show that you're going to be hiring all of them, and then you're going to be directing the orchestra. That's
I always tell our Arab clients or Middle Eastern clients, I'm at the Dukkan, which is like a little bodega where you're the one opening the door, doing the register, stocking the shelves. We want that's you. If you fall in that line, it starts to be err on the side of the immigration formula for the investment as marginal. Right? This is a marginal investment that requires little direction or management. So that's the thing that we are kind of doing a balancing act in determining is the investment sufficient? What type of employees do we have? It's really important that you guys understand that and not to stray too far from your business plan or from your industry from when you have an approved visa. So if you're changing your location, if you're changing your industry, we may be required to submit a new petition and even a new business plan to allow you to remain here, because you are approved for the business that you presented and the location you presented. So do not contact your attorney after you've sold your business. I cannot tell you how many times somebody has contacted me after they sold the business, oh, now what? We need to know, you need to be involved, stay in contact with your attorney, let them know how business is doing, and if we need, is it something to worry about when the extension comes in the future?
Very important.
One final question before I let us go, and it's from Samah, and he's actually a wonderful question, so thank you, Samah. Do I need to stay the entire time in the US while on the business visa? Short answer is no, okay? What I will say is if you came here on a tourist visa, B1, B2, and then you change status to an E, for example, you are authorized to stay here in that status for that 2-year period. When you travel, you are going to require to go through the US Embassy to get a visa stamped in your passport. If you have an E2 visa in your passport, you're able to come and go as you please if it is a multiple entry visa. So when we say what is an E2 treaty visa, and we do business plans that's more than just E2s, but it's really important that you understand, just like the consulates and the embassies that have their own sets of rules, the treaties that these countries have signed with the US government all have different sets of rules. For example, if you're an Italian citizen, you may get a multiple entry E2 visa where you can come and go numerous times. Egyptians and Jordanians are going to get a single entry visa. So every time you leave the US, you're going to have to go through the restamping of or appointment through the consulate. Now, the E2 visas, we've talked about them a lot. I do want to touch on the L1 visas, which are intra-company transfer visa. This is traditionally not an investor visa, but a transfer visa for an employee. But we do consider them investors for sole proprietors or startups or somebody who owns the company. These are very much more in depth than an E2 business plan for a few reasons. One being that we need to provide the history of the foreign company, the structure of the foreign company, the employees of the foreign company, the job descriptions of the foreign company, and then we need to do the same for the US company. So I always tell clients, if we have an E option and an L option, we want to go the E. It's going to be a more sure thing, in my opinion, but for numerous reasons, sometimes we do choose the L. And then USCIS then has the ability to kind of cherry pick at problems they find in the case that might be for the foreign entity. Oh, you don't have enough employees in Egypt. You don't have the job descriptions doesn't sound managerial or executive. There are many more requirements that are kind of ambiguous and subjective, meaning that it's the officer's opinion, where it's not as black and white. So we see that being a big issue that comes. There's another question here, and I will take it, but it sounds like it's for me. But Marco, do you have anything you want to add on the business plans that we've covered, or how people should reach you before I answer that last question?
I only want to underline the two things: the importance of a team effort. The team is the immigration attorney, the client, and the business plan company. That is extremely important. We need to be on the same page and always communicating. And second, what we talked about at the beginning, the difference between a real world or non-immigration business plan and an immigration business plan, it's totally different audience. It's, in summary, an immigration business plan is 90% narrative, very detailed narrative, and then maybe 10% really basic financials, whereas non-immigration business plans are 90% very detailed financials and maybe a PowerPoint presentation with 5-10 pages, bullet points. So that's the biggest difference between the two business plans.
So the question that we received here says, can the purchase of the business be contingent upon approval of the visa? This is a very good question. We see it with anybody who's investing in an E or an L, typically, in the sense that I don't want to purchase this ice cream store for $200,000 and I don't have my visa. Let's say you're here in the United States or you're abroad. You don't want to buy a business that you won't be able to travel to or maintain. So we have kind of been advising our clients to do their best to have a purchase contingent on approval. Because for the E2 visa requirement, you must have invested or been in the process of investing. So we want to show that your source of funds are committed, and the source of funds must be legal money. So a lot of times we will have an agreement with a third-party attorney. The money is already has left your bank account and is with this third party, and they have instructions that if your visa is approved, to transfer the money. So we demonstrate these legal documents that are binding to immigration to show that, hey, the only thing missing in this investment happening in the US, the only thing missing in these job creation is if you grant this visa for this business. So yes, you can do a business purchase contingent on approval. Sometimes it might require a higher deposit or non-refundable deposit, because at the end of the day, a seller ultimately has the decision on what terms they want to agree to or not. This has been a stellar first Facebook Live of 2021. Thank you, Marco, so much for agreeing to be here. Thank you for your hard work and your commitment to our clients. I know a lot of times, not only does the client ask you to change things, but I ask you guys to change things and you never complain. And sometimes I'm picky and say, add pictures here, change this. And thank you to your team and Blanca and Marie and everybody. Please say hello to them. And
thank you.
And I'm glad you made it today, Marco. So thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting us and for your continued trust. And look forward to working with you on future projects.
Yeah, we'll be in touch soon. So you have a great night, and thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Belbao. All right. Bye-bye.